The fallout from the Joker 2 disaster seems to be getting worse and worse with each passing day. It's so bad that the film is now being compared to some of the biggest box office flops of all time, with one source close to the film saying it is a complete audience rejection. Now, this isn't the first time that we've seen something like this happen, and it surely will not be the last. But in the grand scheme of things, when we look back on this, I do feel like this will be one of the most predominant Hollywood failures in history. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So in its second weekend, things didn't get any better for Todd Phillips' follow-up to his 2019 mega hit. In fact, you could say that things got even worse, if that is possible.
You lose! Good day, sir!
Joker 2 grossed $7.05 million domestically in its second weekend, which is an abysmal 81% drop from week 1. This is the highest box office drop ever for a comic book movie. The film will likely lose the studio over $150 million. For further context, Joker 2 earned the same on its second weekend as Beetlejuice 2 did on its sixth weekend. And that's not all that surprising when you consider one of these sequels shits all over its predecessor, while the other pays tribute to the beloved movie that preceded it. If Hollywood hasn't gotten the message by now, this movie should send it to them. Audiences are no longer interested in having their expectations subverted in the worst way possible. We are not interested in being trolled by a film that a lot of us very much wanted to love. In between the original Joker and the sequel, Todd Phillips apparently went to the Rian Johnson Taika Waititi school of pissing off fans. And right now he is passing all of his classes with flying colors. It's so bad for Joker 2 right now that a film like this, with arguably the most iconic villain in comic book history in the title, is actually being outperformed by an indie killer clown movie. You can't make this shit up. Now, having said all of this, I still see a lot of cope around the internet from people who are desperately trying to convince everyone that audiences are wrong about Joker 2. It's bad enough that some people are trying to portray it as this misunderstood masterpiece that us peons couldn't possibly understand. But now we also have people who are so mad about Joker 2 flopping, they are going on these long-winded social media rants, and honestly, it's quite hilarious.
Gonna cry?
Like Venus here on Twitter, who said, "This is so irritating. See, this is what social media hate train does to a f***ing movie. If the incels and negative people joining the trend just to feel part of something weren't bitching about this movie everywhere for weeks, overreacting on the musical elements, other people would still give it a chance and see it for themselves. Then decide if they like it or not. But y'all f***ing haters had to ruin it for casual moviegoers too. Are y'all happy now?" I don't know how to break it to this person, but whatever is said about a movie on social media, either positively or negatively, doesn't have the impact on the box office that this person thinks that it does. General audiences do not give a flying f*** about what some nameless, faceless account on Twitter says about Joker 2. And we have a lot of evidence to support that. If general audiences were interested in Joker 2, they would have shown up for Joker 2. I also find it interesting that incels are being blamed for Joker 2's failure, while if you remember, they were also blamed for the original film's success. Who would have thought there are so many incels in the world that they could impact the movie industry in this way?
Nobody likes a smartass, alright?
I just love how people like to generalize and put people into a box whenever those people do not agree with their way of thinking. It's very dismissive and not at all representative of the gray areas of conversation around this film. What about someone like me, who very much gave the film a chance and was even looking forward to it, only for that film to tell me exactly how much it hates me? It would be great if one day people could come together and hold a studio accountable for a film flopping, instead of constantly trying to blame these phantom hate campaigns. There was a very clear-cut hate campaign against the original film, and that movie overperformed at the box office. There is no correlation.
Get what you f***ing deserve!
When it comes right down to it, Warner Brothers and Todd Phillips made a film that nobody asked for, and the box office is reflecting that. It's actually very reminiscent of another high-profile box office flop from last year, that being The Marvels. I mean, think about it. Both movies had predecessors that eclipsed the $1 billion worldwide mark, so you would think that a sequel was a no-brainer. But when it came time to make those sequels, all the red flags were there, telling everyone that they should have just left well enough alone. The Marvels didn't have that endgame lead-in hype like Captain Marvel did. Joker 2 didn't have that positive early buzz that catapulted the original to success. Also, with both Joker 2 and The Marvels, you have the questionable actions of the directors. With Todd Phillips having free reign to do whatever he wants with Joker 2, and absolutely shitting the bed in the process, and he's even recently started to distance himself from the project and anything DC related. And if you remember, Nia DaCosta disappeared during post-production of The Marvels, basically giving up on the film. Both of these tidbits of information were leaked by the studios as a way of deflecting blame from said studio. You even have the weird coincidence that both films had musical numbers that didn't work in the slightest.
What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie?
At the end of the day, both of these colossal failures committed the cardinal sins of modern comic book movies. That being, they let the success of the first film go to their head, and that led both of them to create unnecessary sequels that the audiences did not give a shit about. Both are representative of a studio and filmmaker's lack of faith in their main characters. With Arthur Fleck being torn down after being built up in the most disrespectful and unsatisfying way, and Marvel Studios having little faith in Carol Danvers by making her share screen time with somehow even more obnoxious characters. In both instances, the smart thing would have been to leave well enough alone. Just be happy that you squeezed $1 billion out of both franchises.
That makes sense.
At the end of the day, Joker 2 is actually much worse when you stop and think about it. This isn't some C-list Marvel character, this is an A-list DC villain that they somehow fumbled the ball with. And if your intentions were for this film to not be directly associated with the Joker character that everyone knows and loves, then why did you even bother calling the film Joker to begin with? And to be clear, this movie failing is not about audiences rejecting fresh ideas. It's about a creative, for some reason, being afraid to commit to the idea that he established in the first film. I'm down for Elseworlds tales. In fact, I've advocated for them on many different occasions. I enjoy it when they take more chances with these characters and deliver fresh interpretations. What I don't want is my intelligence and my loyalty insulted, and that is exactly what Joker 2 did. And this is one of many reasons why piss-poor word of mouth have carried this film exactly to where it belongs. To the island of irrelevancy.
Y'all be cool. Right on.